I'm Johannes and I'm your host for this episode, JSKongress Meets. Sending you a warm welcome from Munich. So the idea behind JSKongress Meets Friends is to invite people and teams where we think they can provide some inspiring insights. You may find some inspirations which can apply to your routines. For getting the questions, we collect them up front and on the different social media channels during this live stream. So one important thing, if you have any question during the stream, please raise them in the chat on Twitter using the hashtag JSKongress. I'm happy to welcome Feli, Aileen, and Christine in this episode where we talk about reboot and recruiting. I'd like to start with a brief warm-up question. So Feli, who are you? What are you doing? And how is it going in the home office?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm Feli. I'm a principal product engineer at Sanada, working in developer relations based in Hamburg. And yes, how I'm doing in the home office. Actually, at the moment, I'm in the office because I have more stable internet here. At home, there are some troubles with the internet. And to be honest, last week, I realized that home office is going to be more challenging for me. So I'm missing my colleagues a lot. I'm missing the coffee talks, just seeing people in the office, drop by, asking questions, talk about how the day is going. So it's getting more challenging.
I see. Aileen, who are you? What are you doing? And how is it going in the home office for you?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Aileen and I am actually a recruiter by heart. Never did something else really. And at least for me, I don't know what it's like for you, but for me, it's more difficult to feel the vibes and make connections via those remote sessions. And maybe to give you like a little bit more of an insight who I am, what you've asked, is I can share a little bit of my journey as recruiter because I passionately jumped into something I really don't know about. And my first manager told me I would never manage a career in recruitment. And I started actually from the scratch as coordinator, where I learned that pace and having strong relationships with all of you is absolutely key. And I had a colleague telling me stop wearing sneakers because I should wear heels instead. Otherwise, I won't make it anywhere. And now 9 years in, actually, I'm wearing today my newest pair of sneakers. I ramped up recruitment at Sanada, where I came to the point that networks and communities, especially in the tech area, and the way we interact with them is actually something I truly believe in. And what keeps me going through all of these years is my instinct, and probably my friends would say ambition, to like finding the right people and asking questions like where or like what do I have to do to reach all of you and keep you engaged with the company I work with. And home office actually works good for me. The only challenge I have is that I'm too long alone with things that like keep bothering me, like stress calls or news or anything. It's more easier to share with colleagues right away sitting next to you. And at home, I'm like more alone with the things, maybe thinking too long. And those correctives and feedback and like just sharing what I'm thinking about is something I really miss.
Kristina, who are you? What are you doing? And how is it going for you in the home office?
Yeah, hey, I'm Kristina. Also, thanks for having me with two of my favorite colleagues here. I work as a principal strategy and innovation at Sanada in Hamburg as well. So I basically help our clients design futures that are more livable for both humans as well as their businesses. And yeah, home office, to be honest, in the first days, I really hated it. And it almost felt like it was cold turkey, not seeing my colleagues and not being in the office, not writing post-its. But to be honest, like these past days, even though I still kind of hate it, I'm at a point where I can't picture myself going to the office 5 days a week anymore. So it feels a bit weird, but I think I've managed to adapt.
Okay, so as we see, the current situation enforces us to adapt our communication channels and strategies as well, if it's internally or externally. So Feli, like when we met the last time at the meetup here in Munich, you mentioned that you've created a Slack community etiquette. Would you like to give us a brief overview? What is it? What is it about? And why did you create it?
So the thing is, I heard from a friend of mine about it, from Stefan Judes, who created it for a company he was working for. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds so interesting. Can you send it over to me? And he sent it over to me. And a few months later, we had the situation of working from home, and the company is doing remote by default, which is for Sanada totally new. And people were interacting and communicating a lot with Slack, and also a lot of them for the first time. So our office management, for example, used Slack for the first time. And what then happened is that a lot of people posted a lot of things in general in other Slack channels, and you were so overloaded by informations, where I was like, okay, now we need really this Slack communication etiquette. So I took the one that Stefan created over and put a little bit more work into it and researched a lot about other Slack communication etiquettes online. And we're like, okay, now we have maybe a base which we can use at the company. And I sent it over to Stefan because he wanted to see it as well. And then the other morning, so the morning right behind it, he was like, why not sharing it? Why not making it public? And maybe I already bought a domain for it. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Why not sharing it with the whole world? So we put it together, put it on GitHub and just published it. So that all companies or schools or any other teams who are using Slack now can use it as well. I think the important thing to know is it's only a template, because every team is facing different challenges. Every Slack team is maybe much smaller than here at Sanada or much bigger. So the idea behind it is that people can copy it and bring it to their needs and use it.
So when you first introduced the etiquette inside your company, like how was the reaction? Like, did it get applied immediately? Have there been some challenging question? Why do we need it? Like, how is your experience by applying it? The reaction from your
Actually, there were no like, why do we need it? A few colleagues came and were like, thank you for that. And what I did then was that I also did a few workshops for colleagues to learn Slack, to learn how to use Slack, because which was more important for a lot of people were like, how can I use it? What functions is Slack using? What can I do? How can I, for example, use a do not disturb function? So that was more important than the Slack communication etiquette overall. So bring everyone on the same page, how you can use it and how you can use it to your own needs, because everyone from us is working different. And I mean, maybe also a few people who are watching this now have different situations, like maybe working only a few hours in the morning or in the evening because they have to watch after other people or children's. So the do not disturb function was very useful for a lot of people, and also to use the Slack status for saying I'm in a meeting or I'm not working now, or sharing their working hours. This was more important than everything else. And at the moment, I have the feeling it's working quite good. So we needed a bit of time, of course. And also like reminding people how to use it or what to share at which channel, and telling people to update the channel description so people know when they should use which channel. And of course, from time to time, people are posting things in the wrong channel. But I mean, we are all humans, things are happening. But I think it's better now.
You mentioned that you already have URL bought like before releasing it. So where can I find it, and do I have the possibility, or everyone who is interested, to participate and contribute to the project as well?
So you can find it at slack-etiquette.online. And there you have a GitHub corner in the upper right, which links you to GitHub. And of course, you can contribute. We are always happy to hear from other people, inputs for missing content. So you can create a pull request or just open an issue. So it's really open source. And at the moment, we have a few open issues. So if you want to help us, feel free to do it. So Stefan and I working on it, but also we don't have so much time. So feel free to involve you however you want and to reach out to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we are posting the link as well in the chat. So feel free to take a look on it. And if you're interested, there are some open issues. Not just communication and interaction needed to be adapted. Like we talked about the internal communication or talking like with friends, families, but we also need to adapt like communication, like when we are running a company, having a product like we want to, or we are enforced kind of, depending on what we are working on to enforce this company as well. So strategies as a whole got challenged without any notice upfront as well. So Kristina, I heard you worked intensely with some fellows on a playbook called Reboot. Can you give us a quick overview? What is it about?
Yeah, sure. Reboot in essence is a presentation or a playbook. So a set of methods and approaches that we develop for our clients, but basically for everyone who's interested. That tries to make the point that even though we are all in a situation of crisis, there's also a lot of potential that we can identify if we just attempt to look. And it was basically born out of the desire to say, hey, we're still here and we're still full of ideas and full of creativity. And we can use this creativity to change the world for the better, so to speak. Because even though it's a difficult situation for all of us at the moment, and it's a serious pandemic, I think it's super important, or I feel like I can't even imagine that after the pandemic, we continue doing the stuff like we used to. Like for me, it will change. And this playbook was our attempt to outline this argumentation and say, let's be bold and let's be courageous to re-envision the future and see what we can do already today so that we are ready whenever we're allowed to go outside again.
Okay. So Reboot has been released quickly after the restrictions have started. Can you share some insights, like what was going on behind the scenes? For example, how much sleep did you get during the creation?
Okay, this question is very boring to answer because I still got enough sleep. I can't live without sleep. So nothing exciting there, but yeah, I mean, we released the presentation basically after the first weekend of the lockdown. So that was very ambitious because in the team that we worked on the presentation, we hadn't worked on before. And of course, everybody had like ideas on how it was supposed to be and what he or she wanted to say. And in the beginning, we struggled a bit, or we found it challenging to find the right tone of voice, because I think what we didn't want to do is be very obnoxious or like force people to talk about or to deal with these kind of issues when they have bigger concerns or problems. So we wanted to be and show empathy to what's going on, but also show a very optimistic view of the future. And we struggled a bit, or it was difficult to find this tone of voice, but it was also immensely fun because basically in the Reboot deck, we say that you need to be very pragmatic and very fast. And this was also something that we needed to be, right? So we also needed to be pragmatic and fast, something that we don't always manage to be in the normal days. So it was also a good experiment for ourselves to really focus on what we want to say and get it out.
Mm-hmm. So I went a couple of times through the playbook, and one thing which I still precisely remember is like the Control Alt Delete, or in a different order, which is applied there. So I'm super curious, like how the idea came up. I think for me, at least, it worked out because I still remember on it, and it's there, the connection, and also like the different parts, what it means, like delete, Control, and Alt.
Yeah, cool that you like it. Yeah, we used the Windows metaphor where you basically use the shortcut with Control Alt and Delete to reboot the computer, and we used this metaphor to reboot the whole system or the whole business or your whole ideas. So we have 3 packages or 3 pillars in the program. The first is delete, and I would say it's basically like a spring cleaning for your business or for your activities. So getting rid of everything that doesn't work anymore, and really also seeing if things are working the way that you intend them and want them to. And then you have the second part that is basically coming up with new pragmatic ideas on how to change your activities, because some of the stuff that worked before Corona doesn't work now, as we all know. So what can be done digitally and what can be done really fast. And then the third part, which is my favorite, because I really love change and thinking about the future and how it will be. It's about envisioning different variations of the future, because there is not one future that just, washes over us all. It's basically, we have to design for it and think about what we want the future to be. And this is exploring different scenarios on how will we work, how will we travel, how will we talk to people, will we only have these digital virtual conversations, or will we meet again? And those three pillars make up our reboot approach. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, it was just that one of us had the idea. Axel, very good job. He came up with the metaphor, and we all immediately liked it, because everybody knows it, right?
Do you have some stories which you already know from colleagues, from friends, from people who applied it, and about their impact?
I mean, when we released the reboot deck, we weren't really prepared for what would come, to be honest, because we hoped that there would be some interest for this, but we were really blown away by the huge interest there was suddenly from all kinds of groups. So from clients, from colleagues, from different agencies. So everybody was interested, and tried to apply this approach to their own challenges. And this is something that I really like. So like Feli said, for the Slack etiquette, it's only kind of like a tool that everybody has to use in their own way. And we realized that it really helped people to be super pragmatic about things, and not like plan for 3 or 4 weeks and then not really getting active, but just trying out and reflecting. And we also heard a lot of positive things about the first pillar, which is the delete pillar, because people actually like to get rid of things. And in our normal life, we sometimes forget about it, I think. We always add stuff on top, but we never really get rid of things or reflect on what we don't want to keep in our lives. So that was something very positive that we got from the feedback.
Cool. So reboot. Let's switch the topic to how we could apply reboot on recruiting. So Aileen, you're working in recruiting. So what would you change, and what would you say is now important for companies when it comes to recruiting? Like, what is your observation in the last couple of weeks?
I think so. When it all started, actually, I had all of a sudden millions of chats and calls, and every move needed a call, and every decision needed two. And somewhere in between, I was sat down and said, okay, what is that? And why is that? And it's exhausting. And in the middle of the night, really, it hit me that we needed it, that people need interactions and they need faces and conversations and contacts. And because all of those random hellos at the coffee machine or in corridors suddenly did not exist anymore, we need to create, I think, a new comfort zone about or around how informations are spread or socializing takes place. And I was furthermore like, then, okay, what does that mean for recruitment? Because the essence of recruitment is also people and how we interact with each other. So we do not have those spontaneous conversations with like all of you anymore at meetups or conferences or lunches where you kind of see how excited we are or how we like or sometimes not like work or do what we're currently doing, and you don't feel and see like the non-verbal communication anymore. So we have to, like Kristina, spring clean that somehow and come up with other activities. And so my focus at the moment is kind of on two things. It's like, first of all, content and talent or candidate pool management, as well as event and community management. And the idea behind this, or like what drives me, is like, how can we still transfer culture and identification and answer like questions like, do I like it there? Do I like the people there? Do I want to spend most of my time with them somehow? And this is something that still needs to come through, like even if we like can't like have this normal conversations anymore. And what we're currently doing is like we're producing more content, and we're really trying to produce valuable content, because not every content is like as well good or like as good for everyone, like for every discipline. And we try to produce content of people telling stories and like giving like just a snapshot of who are they, what drives them, and what keeps them working here, and what is good or bad. So really trying to be as transparent as we can in the things we post. And we try to post those stories on channels that make sense. So Feli is like actually a really important factor here for us, because she's amongst others focusing on developer relations, and it's really helping us to like understand, okay, where are the people we need, where in which channels do they hang, and what makes sense. So really good sparring partner here, like posting the content and which content and in which channels. So this is something we're currently focusing on, and we want to do more. And I also truly believe that we still need interactions, and we need interactions in smaller sessions, like bringing people together, giving them the chance to ask questions to us. I think, like, as easy as it sounds, I think we really have to like come up with a topic and bring everybody together who's interested in, and like ask us questions. How am I? What are we still doing during these times? Like giving them a lot of information about our projects or what we're focusing on. And I think those sessions can also like be expanded in workshop sessions, because we have a lot of great people here who can do a lot of things. And I think like sharing this knowledge and sharing feelings and sharing like status quo is the thing we have to do now. And this is something we're focusing on right now, which will go live in the next days. And I think what it also needs, and that kind of brings me back to the point where I started, is that it will need a lot of calls and coordination and energy that we need to do it right. And I'm just encouraging all of you, like who's listening, to give us a lot of feedback and ideas about what you need, or like what you would love to have from companies in those times, or what can we do to like still transfer culture and identification and answer all those questions you might have. And I think this is really important to like get up, and even the deletion process, but now this old process, so to say, is I think the process where lots of energy is needed, but I think it turns out really good in the end to have like exactly the right strategy and approaches for the right people we need, because I really think that we don't have to like put one strategy out there for everyone. And this is what I learned from Feli, that like we really need individual approaches for the people. And yeah, this is something what was in my head during the last weeks.
I see. So it's, when I understand it correctly, also about getting pragmatic and trying out different things, getting out with them fast and collecting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And like, it's really not all set in our heads. Like, we're really thinking every day, what is right? What is the right approach? What would make sense and what would engage the right people? So it's really not easy to answer all those questions at the moment, which content and which strategy and which channel and which community or network would make sense. So we kind of trying to also building our own network at the moment as well, like putting all those people we know in one big group and trying to send informations to them or like offer them contact or something like that. So really pool, like doing some of talent pool management with the people is something we're focusing on right now as well. So different streams, and yeah, definitely depended on the feedback we get.
What chances do you see? Like, which positive things will stay after, let's say, the new normal has started?
Yeah. So I really think, and I think we actually knew that before, but now it's getting more and more important, is that recruitment takes really a village. It's just not doable with just us in recruitment. It's now in these times, I really realized that it takes the whole company to really yeah, do this job, like to engage people, to tell who we are, to just transfer what kind of people are here. And I think this cannot be done just by the recruiters. And in these times at the moment, I realized, and I experience this as well, that so many people like trying to be more like sharing more content and telling more, reach out to the people, speak to them, offer like time to meet them remote. And this is something I realize is happening right now, and I think that will stay because the experience for everyone is really, it's great, even for the colleagues, and I think that will stay, I hope. Yeah.
So I would like to ask the others as well. So Feli, what are the chances and advantages you see in these times? What do you think will stay? What was a nice experience or a new experience for you with these times? How do you think about?
There are too many things in my head. So what I would like to see is that working remotely is getting better, so that people are more used to it, and that this is a new opportunity, for example, also to work more international together, to hire more international, that people don't need to move to accept a job. And the same for the community, for the whole community. I hope that connections getting more international. For example, when we look at the most meetups and conferences are going now online. They are totally remote. And in the first place, I thought like, ooh, does it work? But I think that's the wrong question. I think what's more about is that now people can join meetups, conferences, whatsoever, events, who are not able to travel because they don't want to travel, or they just can't travel, or they are overwhelmed by too many people. Maybe they are too shy, too introverted, or whatever reason, they now can join. They can now join such events, be part of it. They don't need to wait until the talks are released. And I think that's an opportunity. I don't think it's easy, and I don't think that everything can be transformed to remote and online. But I think we're seeing completely new things. So I hope that we see this as an opportunity. And I mean, we don't know how it will be in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years if we have conferences again, meetups again in person or not. And I don't want to assume anything because I have no clue. But I think that's something I would like to see, that staying, that remote is for everything more an opportunity, and that this will stay, and not all the companies and everything goes back to normal again after it.
Kristina, what are the chances and advantages you see in these times?
The first thing that I really enjoy is seeing my colleagues with completely different eyes, to be honest. Like, I feel we see more of a human side. Even though we've always worked in an environment where, you know, we don't dress up, or we can be the humans that we are, but still I feel like having seen the apartments of my colleagues somehow makes our connections more personal. You see their little kids running into the video, or you see their dog barking, and I love it because, yeah, I see the human, and I see that they struggle, and I have much more empathy, and I feel it's much, yeah, it's more okay in a sense to not be available all the time, or that you take care of, for example, your parents or your children or whatever. So I really like that, and I hope that this will change for the better, and it also kind of proves that you don't need to be there all the time to do a great job. And this could also pave the road for, I don't know, new part-time models, or also working with little children, something that was still kind of limited from my perspective. So I really hope that this will change our approach, how we approach work and how we approach daily schedules. So for example, I totally enjoy being able to have lunch whenever I want, and not at 12:30, where I was never hungry, to be honest. And as a last point, I think that since we got kind of liberated from our routines, and everything had to be different from one day to the other, I feel, and I also really hope, that we will reflect and check, does it really make sense? And that we can focus more on essential things, and not on all the noise that keeps bugging our lives. Yeah, that's my points.
Aileen, you already mentioned some of the things you see which will stay from the positive side, like when it comes to recruiting. Like, besides that, which chances and advantages do you see? Like, how do you experience right now the communication and interaction with your colleagues? Do you have similar experience or observations as Kristina shared?
Yeah, so this empathy thing is really something I experience as well. So some funny story, a colleague of mine dressed my son during a video call because he doesn't want to dress. So he kind of told him told him what to wear. And this is something, in the first of all, it's kind of strange, but then it's just like, it shows that we are all humans in the crazy work life we all have, and how much we work, and sometimes you don't see like this Instagram life and real life. I think this is what I wanted to say. This is something I experience as well. So totally, what Kristina said. And I think what I said in my intro was also, and I was inspired by a colleague yesterday who said that as well, like this random hellos. I really miss randomly meet people, really like meeting people in an office. I like having colleagues from Munich visiting Hamburg without knowing, and just suddenly see them at the coffee machine is really something I really miss. And this is something where I experienced that we I do have more interactions with those, just to don't lose the connections. But I'm such a connection girl, and I'm just trying to work on that, because I realize how much I miss this random conversations and like just see how people feel, because I think it's harder via in remote times to really know how people feel. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through some questions we've collected during the interview we got over the YouTube live chat and on Twitter. So the ones who are still watching, please raise your questions. We are starting right now and going through them. And the first question is related to the Slack etiquette, to the communication etiquette. So does someone know a similar etiquette for Google Meet or G Suite? Because Meet has not all the features like Slack.
I'm not aware of it. I think it's something completely different from every features I know Google Meet has. So it should get a complete other communication etiquette. But I mean, maybe someone is watching who knows it, so maybe they can tweet it or answer it in the chat. Otherwise, make it an issue on GitHub, and maybe we'll have a look at it as well, or someone else will have a look at it. But I think if a company or someone else is using just Google Meet, why not doing something for that as well?
Mm-hmm. So the next question is directed to you, Feli. Feli, how do you see the current situation and the impact on the CSS and JavaScript community?
Oh, wow. Okay. Good one and hard one.
That's a typical question, like, that's a good question, and now start thinking in between.
Yeah. I think we are still in the movement that things are changing. As I already mentioned, all the events are going online or not going online because they just can't do it. I think a few things will change, because I mean, now you can just attend conferences and meetups around the world, and it doesn't matter anymore where you are located. So it's more an opportunity to get even more exchange and to get to know more people, at least from that they are speaking or presenting something. I'm not sure how the impact will be that now the whole socializing part is different. And until yet, I didn't saw a good solution for it. There could be, I don't see everything. But that's something I think a lot about, how to do at events, maybe a socializing part with breakout rooms or different Discord rooms or something else. But also if it's too many people, I mean, at an event, you can stay around with 10 people and talk to each other. And a video call, it's getting very hard.
Yeah.
And also, I think more harder than in person to also involve the very silent people. But I think there will be solutions and they will come. And I think it's now the time where everyone can involve themselves and think about and talk about how we can maybe change the community. What do we need now? And I think also it's like for everything else, every person needs something else. But I'm very curious to see what will come and how it will change.
So the next question, I think it's directed to all of us. So it's, do you think that people are now able to focus, to work with a better focus, like fading out other things now that they had to work with a lot of distractions in the home office?
I think it depends. It depends on the person. For example, I think parents have it more harder to focus maybe, and other people, for other people now it's more easier. For example, I worked today into the office, and I was in the first hour, I was so productive like I wasn't in the last 2 weeks, because only I changed the location. But yeah, I think it's different from person to person.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Also, I think it depends. Some, especially parents, they have a very, very hard time because they also have to homeschool their kids, and they have so many additional additional work packages on top that I sometimes feel very privileged just sitting in my home office and being able to lunch whenever I want and to structure my workday whenever I want. Also, I think that it needs a lot of self-discipline. Some people are more focused, but you also need to be able to shut your laptop, which is something I personally struggled within the first week. So I basically didn't manage to get up and go to the toilet during the whole day because I was only in video calls. So you really need to be strict to say no. One observation I have, for example, when we were still in the office, our lunch slot, so I talk a lot about lunch today, was very like it was almost holy. No one ever scheduled a meeting during that time. Now it's completely gone. Like people just schedule meetings whenever they want to. So I think that you also have to be responsible for your own schedule.
Did you have already lunch today?
Yes.
Okay, the next question is directed to Aileen. You said recruiting takes a village, like the saying, raising a child takes a village. Which opportunities do you see for families, for part-time jobs, and for young parents? Like young parents with young children, I mean, not like the age of the parents.
I don't know if I got this question right. So can you repeat it? Like, was it challenges or impact?
Which new opportunities do you see for families, for part-time jobs, for people having a part-time job, or for young parents?
Yeah, so I think as Kristina said, I think like the empathy for parents or young parents was the question, is so much higher within the last weeks. I think like I experienced it as well. Like I had to make calls, and my son just wants to listen to Fireworker Sam, or how does it called in English? I don't know. But it's just, I think the empathy is already there, and I think like this flexible work models will definitely be a topic, and like this whole remote thing is definitely, as Feli already said, a topic. And I think there will be a lot of opportunities in futures. Yeah, that definitely. Yeah.
The next question. A lot of people in the chat are really loving lunch in the home office. Kristina, I think you triggered the question.
Yes.
The question.
I will remember that, because then we're doing remote lunch sessions. This is a great thing.
Yes, I did it as well. And a couple of times. And so the question right now is about, food is even getting better at home, healthier, and a lot of people are mentioning that they even lose weight. Like, what is your take on that? Do you cook by yourself? Do you order something to eat? Is it a variation of all of them?
I'm with that. Like, I do more sports now that I'm at home, because I kind of thought, like with the focus questions before, it's kind of easier for me to focus on like more strategy tasks, like going outside and run and like doing some sports. And during the last weeks or now in those times, as I said, I have to run a lot because I have to think, how do we do this recruitment now? But with cooking, I'm not, my husband is cooking, so I ordered, no, I'm ordering and I'm eating. I'm good in eating, and I hate sharing my food. Really hate sharing.
Kristina, how are you doing when it comes to lunch? are you cooking by yourself? Is it like from one day to the other, like ordering something, going out for taking something at home, cooking by yourself?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a mix. I love to cook, but actually I love to cook for others. So this falls flat for now, but I still try to cook healthy, delicious meals, because it's also something that you reward yourself with, I feel. But I also try to support the locals, because I also love to eat out. And I feel so amazed and so humbled by all the efforts I see from the restaurants around here, that try to, come up with the most creative solutions of pick up foods or meal kits and stuff. So I try to support this whenever I can. And this creates a nice mix, I would say.
Yeah.
Second this. It's completely the same for me.
Really.
And most of the time I'm not cooking for lunch so much, because it's then more stressful for me, because I have a time slot, because the next call is starting like at 2 p.m. or so. So it's most of the time just small lunch or ordering lunch and then cooking in the evening. But I'm also like Kristina, I more love to cook for others, which is now not so easy.
For me, it's similar, like mostly going out, like having my 2 restaurants for takeaway, and also time to time cooking, but also, like as Kristina said, you need to be sometimes strict, because like I had some days where I just forgot to have lunch because of meetings in between.
Yeah. Those are sad days.
Yeah, especially after you realize it and it's still getting late during the day.
Yeah.
So Aileen and Feli, there is a question directed in to you.
Feli line.
So you're curious to meet again with the colleagues in person after such a long time. Do you think that they are the same, or the perception you have of them? Or do you think like there will be a change for meeting again the colleagues after such a long time?
Well, I'm afraid that they don't want to meet. No, but it's like a good question, because I think there are people who kind of like to work like that. So of course, like everyone is different, and maybe for some of them it's enough to have the connections just as we have right now via remote. But like all those people I care about, I have the feeling that they care too, and that they're really making efforts to bring everyone together. And when it comes to work life, we had kind of a lot of sessions or meetings or funny ideas to bring everyone together. And this always comes from different directions. So I think like overall, I think I have the feeling that everyone is excited too, as I am, but I'm normally really excited. So half of excitement is also okay. But yeah, Feli, what do you think?
I think, of course, few people will change. I mean, people are changing the whole time. But I'm curious about of whom I will be the most surprised that I want to see them again, or to see who I missed, maybe because I don't see it at the moment, and then when I meet them again, I will see that I really missed them. But for me, it's the same. Like for Aileen, we have a lot of colleagues who are really into bringing us together, also remotely. For example, we had a llama session. Yeah. Where we were dumped on a lunch during the lunchtime on a call, and we really saw a llama, because it was a llama farm, which was really, really great. And we have a lot of other things also going on. And also I try to keep up doing remote coffee breaks, tea breaks with people I miss, or also people maybe I don't miss so often, or colleagues who are now starting at the company, who are new, like getting to meet them and who they are. So I try to be connected to a lot of them also during this time. So I would also now see if they would change or not. But yeah, I'm curious if someone would be changed completely.
Okay, the last question is not really a question, but the mention Ghana is watching you. Hello to Ghana. I just dressed up with the dress I got last year when we had the session JSKongress Goes Ghana. So hello to Ghana. I'm glad to read that. It's already time.
I have a last question. So you asked all of us how we are doing in the home office. How are you doing in the home office?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel I have more focus. I'm doing more sports, much more sports compared to like when I'm in the office, because there is a funny story. Like I'm doing this CrossFit, and usually you have to go into a box like for doing it, like you have your guidance and all of the people around you. And in the first 2 weeks, I started by doing something by my own at home. And I got so lazy and it got so hard for me, like pushing myself, doing something. And then I asked a friend of mine, like Natalie, hello, Natalie, for, hey, are you interested in joining? Let's do a virtual session over a video chat and do it together. And then it started on a regular basis. We do it every 2 days. And then Robin and Julia joined from Berlin. And right now, like last session was yesterday, the next session is tomorrow. We are doing this regularly, like for 1 hour, then having the socializing afterwards, like coming down and until we get calm again. And it's really funny, but I'm still missing like the physical appearance from people, which is a kind of hard. I'm looking forward, like when the situation is getting less restricted. And that's one thing I'm missing. And also like missing visiting the family and friends, which is a kind of hard. I mean, having already some tele drinks, tele beers. I heard like there are tele wine tasting sessions as well. But besides that, I think I like it. I like it a lot. And my new normal is hopefully like being more in the home office and having regular days where I'm in the office.
Cool.
I think that was the last question. Kristina, Aileen, Feli, thank you very much for joining this interview session. It's been fun. For all of you who are interested like in the next episodes, please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is JSKongress, or press the subscribe button. Now I would like to take this thing, which I've seen from other YouTubers. Thanks again to Marco and Kerstin, who are taking care about the technique behind and about what's going on Twitter and the chat. Thank you very much. And that's it for today. I'm turning off the live streaming now. When I find the button. Okay, be in live control room.
All right.
Delete Alt Control.
And
Spring cleaning, my new favorite.
We are still live, right? Because it's saying we are